Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tiff Talks Tech. Today is going to be a solo episode, and this one is going to be called The Lazy Marketer's Guide to A/B Testing. I wanted to talk about this because I love a good test, but as long as it runs itself. So I have run so many different A/B tests in my time as a marketer because that's kind of what you have to do to see what's working. But I know a lot of the times it was kind of thrust upon me like, hey, we need such and such solution. Can you test out a couple different products or see what's working with such and such ads? One that specifically stands out in my mind, and I think I'll never stop talking about this, is when I tested different AI systems when I worked on the operations side and just how vastly different they were because they used different kinds of models. And one was, at the time, it was a guided conversation. The other one was a natural language processing, and it took a lot of training. And so it was just like two very different experiences, and they had two very different results. That being said, this episode is for marketers who want better results, but they only have the energy for a half caffeinated project. If just feel like you don't have the time, you're overwhelmed, and you don't have the patience for an A/B test, this is the episode for you because this will give you some tips and tricks to be able to do it the lazy girl way. So here, let's talk about first why A/B testing gets a bad rap in the first place. So when you first think about A/B tests, what comes to mind is lots of spreadsheets, statistical jargon that you may not understand, especially with certain platforms. A lot of us, we are jacks of all trade. We pretty much do it all, but that makes it really hard for us to excel in one specific thing. And so if we feel like we don't fully understand something, that can be a little bit difficult because it almost makes you feel less smart, like you're not understanding it, but really you just haven't had the time to dedicate to one specific thing, and that's fine. So let's talk about that. I think that that's what makes it hard, is the way that people talk about their platforms, the way that people talk about the results and what you should be looking at, and how it can just be assumed that you should know these things. Again, you haven't had the time. So it doesn't have to be some big fancy scientific thing to do an A/B test. It can be something really small, and it can be little micro tests. You're not trying to publish a research paper here. You're really just trying to see which version of whatever test you're running is going to be more successful. So, like I said, I want to talk about the idea of doing micro tests. Think about the fact that there is this 80-20 rule of testing. About 80% of your results come from about 20% of your effort. So I want to introduce you to the lazy marketer mindset, or the lazy girl mindset, as I like to call it. Prioritize what is visible and easy to measure, the things that are front and center. So here are a couple examples of that. Subject line A versus subject line B in an email campaign. Headline swap on a landing page. 2 thumbnail images on a social ad. Like, those are very small micro things that you can do to start getting yourself into the habit of testing. And it's not that much effort. You can use ChatGPT for a lot of these things. Headline suggestions, I do it all the time. Have the tools that you have at your fingertips, use those to help you A/B test easier and with less stress. These are just some small tests that take minutes and not meetings. You don't really have to consult with a lot of people most of the time for these little micro tests. And again, it gets you in the habit of doing this regularly to see what's actually working, what's pushing business forward. Okay, so let's talk the lazy testing playbook. I'm going to break it into 3 very simple steps that you can use. First, pick the pain point. Find out what is underperforming, what is underwhelming on your site, what is the thing that you're trying to solve for. Ask yourself, where am I not getting clicks, opens, or engagement that I want to see? And maybe that's the thing that we need to test. Then step 2 is going to be make a tiny tweak, or a micro test. Only change one little variable of whatever it is that you're trying to solve for. So a couple quick examples can be different call to actions, schedule a tour versus book your visit. You could do a property photo versus a photo of the actual inside of the unit. You could do emojis and subject lines versus no emojis and subject lines and kind of see how that performs. So again, um, just lots of very little things you can do to test and see how you can get better engagement with whatever it is you're trying to solve. Third, like I said, you can use AI for a lot of this. So let the robots do the work for you. You can use built-in A/B features in your tool. For example, in email, you can use things like HubSpot, MailChimp, ActiveCampaign. For ads, you could use Meta, Google, or LinkedIn. You could see, how does LinkedIn stack up next to Google? You can use different web features, funnel, knock, unbounce, things like that. And the lazy tip that I have for you is set the test, walk away, and let automation pick the winner. That's all you got to do. Again, ChatGPT is a great tool for this. You could even do different AIs like ChatGPT versus Perplexity versus, Grok, whatever's out there. There's so many different options for you to choose from and so many tools that can help you do this a lot easier. You're not writing a book, so don't worry about, using AI for a subject line. It's okay. You're not taking anything. Like, it's okay. I would think about too, as you are leaning into the results for these campaigns, you can use AI to figure out what metrics might be most important. And sometimes you may need an additional tool. Like I said, I've tested lots of different tools. I've looked into a lot. I know sometimes the idea of talking with different sales reps can be daunting because honestly, the follow-up. That is something that used to scare me off as a customer, but really don't let it intimidate you. I think I've said this before, but salespeople just kind of want to know where you're at. So if they react poorly to you deciding not to move forward, that's okay. Be honest. And, that's all you can really do. You have to make the choice that's best for your business at the end of the day. And whether or not the salesperson likes it, I mean, that's our job. As salespeople, they get rejected, they get accepted. Like, there's so many different nuances to it. It's okay. It's okay. And if you're going to do a comparison in tools, I like to have a spreadsheet of just like, these are the features I'm looking for. Again, ChatGPT can help you come up with this. These are the features that I'm looking for in such and such platform. What you can ask ChatGPT what features should I look for in a PPC provider? I mean, that's the first thing that comes to my head, or a fraud solution or a texting tool, things like that. So ask, what are those important things? What reporting feature should I be looking at? At the end of your test, I would look at results, and it depends on what exactly you're testing. But I would look at how did this perform, this platform versus the other, this ad versus the other. And one way that I make this a little bit easier is I don't do this every day. I do this probably 1 to 2 times throughout the month. So, for example, if I am looking at the results of one ad creative versus another, I look at that when I do my monthly reporting. Okay, I gave it a whole month to do what it needed to do. Maybe I'll tweak this little thing next month. So that gives me a better idea of what I can do. Also say, as you're looking at the results, try to find business impact. That is one thing your boss is going to want to hear. If they're asking you to do a test, if you're letting them know, I'm going to test this thing versus that thing. Okay, how did it impact the bottom line? Because that's really what they care about. And that's going to show strategic thinking on your part as well. It doesn't have to be, I found this pile of results. It can be just a couple findings that are helping move the business forward by testing. I think most of the time executive level is okay with testing as long as you learn from your mistakes. So, if something didn't work, make sure that you acknowledge that and decide what you're going to do better for next time. Maybe neither A/B option worked. That's fine. What's option C? Let's think about that. I will say I had a test that I ran recently. I decided to evaluate some LinkedIn ads that I did. And I did one group that was just general audience in multifamily. And then I did another that was targeted at key companies that we wanted to reach. My expectation was that the one with the key companies was going to be smaller because that was more targeted. It had a little bit less of a budget. It was spread between different ad creatives. So my thought was, okay, this is not going to perform quite as well because it's going to be a smaller audience pool. However, boy, was I wrong. We had, my gosh, more impressions and views and all the things, like more bigger results than I'd ever seen on any other ad that we've done. And so I'm like, okay, that's crazy. Let me narrow it down even more. And the next month, I narrowed it down by job position. Oh my gosh, that exploded as well. So it was really not what I expected to see as far as results. But oh my gosh, I was so pleasantly surprised with the results. And so I was able to take that to my team, show them, hey, we're getting in front of all these companies that we want to be in front of, and what we're doing is working. And I could see from there, our website traffic went up, our inbound leads went up, and it was really affecting different parts of the business in positive ways. So I was really proud of that and excited to see how it did. I also want to share some lazy testing hacks. So here are just a few tips that I think are really helpful if you're looking for a lazy girl test. You can repurpose some existing content into new formats. So you could turn an email into a post, into a text message, etc. You can do that. I do a lot of that with my content for the companies that I market for. I may post something on TikTok, and then a few months later, I'll post it on LinkedIn, and then I might turn that concept into an article. So you can try to see, like, if it's performing really well, that might be something that people are interested in, and I want to reshape and reuse for different kinds of content. You can use polls or reactions as informal A/B tests for yourself, just to kind of see what's working. You can keep a testing wins note in your phone or in a Google Doc to just track what's working. And even if they're just micro tests, just a sentence about it so that you remember, oh yeah, I did test this thing and this is the result that I wanted to see. It doesn't have to be pretty unless your boss is asking for it in a pretty format. But like, if this is for you, just throw it in a Google Doc, put a couple sentences just so you remember. Don't wait for perfect data or for perfect results. Act on the clear trends on those micro tests that you're doing so that you can see this is the direction that I want to go in, and it will eventually influence what you plan to do in your strategy. It really is a mindset shift. Testing does not always equal spreadsheets. It's really just getting curious and turning that curiosity into action. The goal is not to have a perfect result or to have necessarily even a clear answer on what works best. It's just for making progress towards the results that you want to see, towards improvement, towards growth. A/B testing, it can help you market like a scientist and think like a storyteller at the same time, and just being able to take that result. And again, as I've said so many times, you can use AI to help you formulate it. Okay, hey, I saw these results. Help me turn this into the most important bits for my boss who really cares about ROI, who really cares about leads coming in, etc. So to recap and wrap up, just pick one thing, change one little thing, and let the robots do the hard work for you. Run one micro test this week. Bonus points if it takes you less than 5 minutes just to do something small and start pointing you in the right direction. Please, please, please DM me or tag me with any test results that you have, especially if it's an ugly version that wins, or like a version that you did not expect to do well of whatever it is you're testing. Those are always so interesting to me and kind of exciting to see. Like, hey, I had no idea this was going to actually work well, but it did. And now I know what's working and we'll go that direction. So thank you so much for listening. I so appreciate it. Tune in next week for more tech insights. Thanks.